Howdy! Please come on in. You're just in time for Dance Gazebo.
Are we going to fight later, or will we be eating lunch? Can we eat lunch? I want tacos!
Tacos are evil! First, we have to make mincemeat out of here.
You can't make. Who the heck broke this? My God, this is like a kindergarten.
Excuse me, can you cue that subtitle again? Oh, aren't we frisky, eh? Well, I've got news for you, buddy. Between that show, your show, and yes, even gassy temperatures, your shitloads of fucking your own lot, you idiots. Also, please pardon my coarse language, for as you can see, Dance Gazebo won't be seen tonight, so that we may bring you the following review. Hey, Mike!
Now that's the best sounding elevator music I ever heard.
So, a funny thing happened to me yesterday after a binge watching of Erased, an anime garbage show which Digibro already covered in mass detail. Robbie Walker dropped off 2 additional episodes of Sonic Boom on top of the 2 I already reviewed, and the fan-made one that I plan to review. So, may as well make it official. Ladies and gentlemen of the mob, welcome to our second ever Fuck You It's a Marathon.
Oh, there's a storm cloud over your head.
Oh, what the fuck? The fuck did you do?
And since I'm feeling lucky, I'm going to settle it with a coin toss. If it lands on heads, I cue a Phalus clip. If it lands on tails, I'd be better off.
Of course it'd fall on the floor.
Heads.
So, as mentioned, Straczynski wrote some of the best episodes of the show, like when Halloween Was Forever, Citizen Ghost, and Take Two. And even if something had a kind of stupid-sounding premise, he would actually make it work, like, for example, doing a story involving chickens.
After I turned in the script for Chicken He Clucked, which was a little bit demented, Joe Mecha called me on the phone and said, are you okay? I said, yeah. Why? Well, we read Chicken He Clucked, and we think you're a little disturbed. And maybe need to have a weekend off. Should I take it out? Nope, we love it. We just worried about you.
In Chicken He Clucked, the fact the plot is revolving around chickens and that being a stupid thing is a plot point. There's a guy who's driven mad because he lives next to a chicken shop, and he gets so sick of them he summons a demon to make them disappear off the face of the planet. The demon becomes a laughingstock for having to grant such a stupid wish and ends up aiding the Ghostbusters so he can reverse it and try to get some dignity back. You compare this to the post-ABC interference episode Poultrygeist, where the premise is were chickens that are just a kind of matter-of-fact thing that exists, and instead of the episode and characters being in on the fact that it's a stupid plot, it instead feels like it's insulting your intelligence. This is just a good example of how you can approach a similar subject, and depending on the writing, it can either still be an interesting plot with good humor, or just something kind of embarrassing.
Okay, now that we've explained how network meddling can muck over a show, we're going to turn our attention to an episode which can rival late fees in terms of shittiness, if not outright toppling the franchise's death nail outright. And come to think of it, we're going to explain how it reminds me of a certain episode of a certain show, and how that certain show does the topic much, much better. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen of the mob, time to riot loose with our fandom arson of Sonic Boom episode 17.
Don't judge me.
Belts up, gang. We're about to land.
The episode begins, predictably enough, with Eggman showing up in a new moth-inspired mech. Kudos. So yeah, I'll leave it to Sonic and friends to take care of the mech in an equally predictable fashion.
Knuckles, we are code green for moth bait.
Hey, look at me! I'm having an idea!
And you will not believe how Eggman tries to weasel his way out of this one.
Ow, my neck! You cheated, Hedgehog!
Wow, dude. Just wow. Adam Sandler can put on a more convincing performance than you.
And guess what? Eggman's little white lie gives him grounds to sue the Blue Blur, and the media naturally eats it up, because of course it will.
It's the trial of the century that everyone is taking very, very seriously. This will ruin the life of whomever loses. Brought to you by Madburger.
See, there are words to describe how wrong this is, but I'm just gonna save it for the conclusion so that I can blow your mind with all the deets later. Whilst Eggman plays the gasping crowd like a fiddle, just ignore him, they'll be punished soon enough. Sonic ends up bringing in Knuckles as his attorney for the trial. Oh, what a delight.
Well, I'm glad my contempt for the situation worked out for you.
Spoken like the Bubsy you are.
Let all who come before me know that I have been programmed to be fair and impartial, and to in no way favor Dr. Eggman, the great man who created me.
My God. You are the most hypocritical judge I've ever seen. In fact, you might actually topple the judge from Sonic Shoe number 10.
A wolf by the name of T.W. Barker acts as the plaintiff of the episode, and already I'm getting Miles Edgeworth vibes from him. Needless to say, if given a proper Phoenix Wright counterpart, this could have naturally saved the episode.
Boo! Please refrain from such outbursts in my courtroom. Now, commence your opening statement.
That was my opening statement.
Instead, we have Nux. And with that, another nail in the coffin of Sega.
Sonic naturally picks Styx out to argue against Eggman with the obvious facts that comes with Eggman's now 25-year career, but Styx naturally sticks out.
If frogs had wings and snakes had hair and automobiles went flying through the air, no more music!
Orbot is put onto the podium and provides evidence to Sonic's crime. And I put evidence in the parentheses for a reason.
Boss, now that we're done faking that evidence, you want I should return this stuff to the costume shop?
You know what this reminds me of? Bubsy the Bobcat.
You know, that video game mascot that went nowhere, that represented a video game developer that went nowhere? Handled terribly in all of them, and he could never shut up no matter how much we all despised him. And when you think about Sonic after his Genesis days, barring a few rises in quality like the Dreamcast trilogy post-Sonic Adventure and the Hedgehog engine games like Unleashed, Colors, and Generations, he's appeared in progressively worse games, handled terribly in almost all of them, and he never shuts the hell up. In other words, Sonic was ripped off by the same Bobcat he would eventually become.
Market research and breeding. It's where integrity and consistency goes to die.
Tails comes to his defense, only for his gushing to ultimately be twisted against the guy. Top notch, buddy.
How long did you think you could keep that from us?
Objection, Your Majesty! We're losing! Overruled! But yes, yes you are. Badly.
I rest my case.
That guy's good.
Hence why Eggman probably hired him for a lot of his politician buying money.
Also, leave it to Comedy Chimp to milk the situation for all it's worth, with jokes and skits for all the late-night TV audiences to see.
We'll be right back, unless Sonic puts me in the hospital.
You, sir, are fearless in your comedy.
I've seen better.
We get a sharp contrast to Nux's behavior from last week as he promptly puts himself on the stand to testify. And how does he fare?
He's scrawny, weak, and pathetic. I always have to bail him out of jams. He's an embarrassment. What a loser. And quite frankly, it sickens me to look at him.
Careful, Nux. You're testing Sonic's patience, and if you cause what I think you're gonna cause, I'm gonna pull a video for you fans to show what they're supposed to be.
Could Sonic hurt Eggman like this? Well, answer the question! No! Sonic is way too lame to do that kind of damage! There! I said it! I said it!
Oh, fancy that! We've got a TV trash survivor on our hands, Reed Harrison from the Americanized mass men behaving badly. Give a warm welcome, class. He scored a win for the Dino Posse. Now, don't mind me. I'm just going to leave this here so you can take your knuckles and write him properly!
Oh, for the love of all that's holy, that save was worse than mine.
Eat a fucking dick, Orbot.
The jury ultimately stalls for 15 seconds before Amy promptly flips the judge bop on his side and topples Barker as well.
Hey, look at Egghead. He can move his head just fine.
What? I mean, yow! Ow!
Save it, Eggman.
Fine. You leave me no choice. Not that I wasn't going to do this anyway.
Eggman assembles his army of badniks, which Sonic and company promptly make short work of. The end.
Well, that was anticlimactic.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Conclusion.
For this one, I had to dig deep into the archives. Like, earliest arson ever produced DeeP.
That's right, the similar episode we're comparing this episode to here is Krabs vs. Plankton, from the first show we ever targeted, SpongeBob SquarePants. Our first drop of evidence comes in with the crashing of the mothball. In Krabs vs. Plankton, which I shall call KVP for time's sake, Plankton was taking the idea of pretending to be in pain because he heard a customer said he would sue Mr. Krabs for all he's got, which gave him the idea of doing so to get the Krabby Patty secret formula. Why? Because Plankton slipped on the wet floor without any sight of a wet floor sign. Since, you know, this is a crab-run establishment, so of course he wouldn't bother with that. But don't judge me, Eggman had literally no reason to fake the injury other than to make himself look like an idiot. Or at least look more like an idiot than he usually does in the show. At least with KVP, he was too damn small for anybody to see right away, hence why Plankton's bullshit sob story made apparent sense.
I'll give you one last chance. I'll drop the charges if you give me the formula. Never, you little whelp! Ow, ow! My widow arm! What? No! I didn't lay a claw on him! Ow! My other arm! Ow! He's lying! Bah!
And so Mr. Krabs has to go along with the case, because, well, he has to defend himself until there's evidence to the contrary. Don't Judge Me, on the other hand, had no means to the crowd to believe that Sonic was harming Eggman by accident. I would have preferred a funnier episode where Eggman filed a restraining order against Sonic so that cops would show up to attack him like in the Cartoon Network shorty Harass Cat. Maybe Bill could work it into Season 2, I guess, but seeing how he's made something as boring as a court case even more uninteresting, I obviously wouldn't hold my breath. And while we're on the subject, Sonic hiring Nux as his lawyer came completely out of nowhere, complete with a throwaway line suggesting that he hired Nux as a joke, meaning, like everyone else watching this, he doesn't really give two shits about this lawsuit, which in the end doesn't even matter in the grand scheme of things. At least Mr. Krabs had a legitimate reason to make SpongeBob his lawyer, since Richard Anton Boltavita, the original guy he hired, slipped on the wet floor while being prepared for the trial, and thus he actually got himself hurt. What? Now compare the quote-unquote evidence from Don't Judge Me to the evidence in KVP, where Sheldon brings in a visualized piece of evidence to prove his point.
Mr. Krabs, can you identify this item? It's a wet floor sign. Do you own one?
No, I don't. No, you don't understand! I had to make some tough business decisions and the sign seemed superfluous.
Guilty. No more questions!
But don't judge me, there was literally no evidence to prove whether Sonic was guilty or not. And hell, if we're naming names, Matthew Patrick of game theory fame, even with all of the hits and misses he often makes throughout his career, even he thought he was bad at doing his job. But at least from the start, he's a showman at heart and has visuals to prove his point. And when you make a man who compares fictional plants to crack cocaine look like the better presenter, you know that something is wrong. But the final piece of damning evidence comes with how the heroes handle the situation and solve the problem. At least with KVP, the Krabby Patty formula gave in to Plankton's temptation of greed, lust and gluttony. Heck, even the most famous of court cases, King Kong vs Donkey Kong, had Nintendo as the defendant and Universal as the plaintiff, yet Universal lost because they were in the wrong. Sonic Boom failed miserably because they don't care about Sonic's side of the story and there was no plot MacGuffin in the series proper for them to use. Unless of course you count the Chaos Crystals from the disastrous tie-in game Rise of Lyric. Not that anyone would care at all since, you know...
Isn't it all pointless? My flipping head!
And that's only the comparisons I made from one episode. Think about Sonic Heroes and how much better it was with the characterization of its iconic cast. Think about a Truman Scorned and how the solution was more creative than just robo-violence. Think about JBX and how at least the lunacy of having Simone the Digger on a director's chair led to something interesting. And yes, think about Freiburger's Own Drawn Together. And how it was at least more energetic in its shittiness. No doubt this is the worst episode of Sonic Boom I have reviewed thus far. Snatching away the royal dunce cap from late fees and taking its place as the death nail of the Sega Corporation's dignity. You want to know why this episode deserves a good thrashing right here and now? It made me look at Patty Ann in a more positive light since, hey, at least they tried to produce something good instead of just farting it out for brand maintenance. And as an added story to rub salt in its wounds, during a men's retreat last year, my coworker Robbie Walker wasted his time showing this particular episode to his friends when he should have been putting his attention on the prayers of God because Christianity. And thus he was probably going to miss it at home. After watching it by the time Eggman faked his injury, Robbie was angry beyond the point where he was able to tolerate it. But he still braved through the whole damn episode. Then he sent me his thoughts on the matter, and thus, here we are. Watching this episode after the last two made me feel aggravated that this came right before Eggman's tomato sauce. Made me feel depressed knowing that Sonic's 25th anniversary might also be his last. But worst of all, it made me feel drained of any drive I might have had when I first started this show. I'm sure it won't last. There are still a few aspects of the job that I still like. But for now, I feel drained. Drained enough to actually question my line of work and question my true passions. And I don't really like how that feels.
So the Dino Posse's turning this crazy train around by showing us 2 crappy episodes from the Sonic Boom archives. Will their luck last into the May? Find out same awesome time, same awesome channel. Back to you, Frieza.
Zarbon, didn't your nephew fake an ailment to sue the school board for feeding him stuff he didn't like?
Yes, Lord Frieza, I remember.
And didn't I come over to blow the entire school to smithereens for its trouble?
Oh yes!
Still ahead, the Glitter Force and their precure comrades in Japan. We'll tell you how stupid the Glitter Force name is after this.
me, sir, are you Sonic the Hedgehog?
Guilty as charged. So, what'll it be, kid? Autograph? You want your picture taken with me? Maybe a bite of this comically large sandwich, huh?
You've been served.
Served! 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 Served!
Yes!
Served!
Victory is mine!
Served!
And the next target in the search for the worst is...
Yellow.
Oh, Captain, good afternoon. Care to explain what you're doing here?
It's been a while since I've done a review, so I'm coming with.
Sure, go right the fuck on ahead. At this point, anything can be better than Don't Judge Me.